I refused to gift my $375,000 home built over 2.5 years to my sister. Dad hit me with a cake stand. He's arrested. And her $40,000 debt is exposed. My parents insisted that I give my sister the $375,000 home I constructed myself at her wedding. When I refused, my father lost his temper and threw me to the ground with a metal cake stand. There was silence in the room until my sister's fiancé broke the news to my parents. Before I realized my father was swinging, I was struck by the metal cake stand. In an instant, I was seeing my sister Lucy spin around in her $6,500 Vera Wang dress while seated in the third row at my table, close to the dance floor. Then the world swung sideways as wrought iron made contact with my temple. My chair skittered backward as I fell hard. My head bounced once, twice, after my shoulders struck the parquet floor first. Mid-song, the band broke up. 175 attendees fell silent. A high-pitched, constant buzzing that sounded like a smoke alarm going off inside my brain was all I could hear. My hand went to my head and left behind warm, scarlet, and sticky blood that soaked into the neck of my dress shirt, the navy one I had purchased especially for the wedding, and trickled past my ear. At Nordstrom Rack, $100. Above me, my mother's twisted, blurry visage emerged. I had finished the trim work in my guest bathroom 6 hours prior. Get up, Ethan. You're embarrassing us. At last, the house I had spent 2.5 years building myself was finished. Everything was just the way I wanted it. The living room's crown molding, the kitchen's subway tile, and the hardwood flooring I had to sand and refinish twice due to streaks on the first effort. It was situated on 2 acres of land that my grandmother had bequeathed to me. At the age of 87, Elizabeth May Cordero passed away in February 2019. She gave me the land when it was probably worth $35,000. The entire property, including the house, was valued at $375,000. It wasn't figurative. I had created it myself. Genuinely constructed it. Began working as a building and frame crew member for a Henderson developer at the age of 19, 70-hour weeks in 110 degrees heat, including overtime and minimum salary. Victor Hernandez, my crew chief, had 30 years of experience in the field and could build a whole house while he slept. On the third day, he had asked me, "You want to learn? Really? Learn? Yes. Then shut up and watch." I spent 7 years observing. I gained knowledge about carpentry, how walls were put together, how load-bearing beams operated, and how to read plans like a novel. Charlie Brooks, my 73-year-old neighbor who is retired and still quite clever, taught me plumbing. He explained to me the importance of vent stacks, P-traps, and why compression fittings should never be used on gas lines. Attended night school at the community college to learn electrical. Carmen Garcia, a certified electrician with 29 years of experience, served as the instructor. Before I got it right, she had failed me twice on my practice panel. She'd said, "Electricity doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you're having a bad day. You do it right, or someone dies." I did it correctly. Every dime was saved. Resided in a $680-month studio apartment. Consumed ramen. Drove a 200,000-mile 2004 Honda Civic. Didn't go on trips, date, or do anything but work, save money, and make plans. Once, my parents assisted. Let me borrow $8,000 for the framing materials and foundation. In 8 months, I reimbursed them. Interest is applied to every penny. I own the house. Every nail, every sweat drop, every square foot. I washed, changed into the Navy suit, and drove to the reception at my sister's wedding at the Riverside Grand Hotel at 2:30 p.m. Lucy had a stunning appearance. I'll grant her that. My baby sister is 26 years old. A blonde with one of those ornate makeovers at a downtown investing firm. Operates a BMW 5 Series. Actually, a good guy. Nathaniel appealed to me. He was direct and truthful. Did you not? The ceremony went well, customary. Lucy sobbed. Nathaniel sobbed. My mother sobbed. Typical wedding fare. At 6 p.m., reception began. The ballroom at Riverside Grand, which was decked out like a Pinterest board, blew up. There are white roses everywhere, lights with strings. Those $300 towering centerpieces. 16 tables. Each table can accommodate 12 people. Live band. Let the bar open. I had given this wedding $4,000. When my parents inquired, they stated Lucy needed assistance. I didn't hesitate to write the check since that's what family does. I took a seat at number 9. Family friends, whom I barely remembered from graduation celebrations and Christmas dinners. Ate the rubber chicken, drank the subpar Cabernet, and engaged in light chat. My folks came over at 7:45 p.m. Margaret and John Reed. Dad, a 56-year-old real estate agent, drove a Lexus that was above his means. Mom was 54 years old, had opinions about everyone's choices in life, and worked part-time at an interior design firm. The tone of my mother's speech was, "Ethan, we need to talk." The one she used to pretend it was reasonable when she was going to make a request. My dad grabbed a chair and took a heavy seat. I put down my wine glass and said, "Your sister needs a house. Okay, there are plenty for sale in this market. Interest rates are decent right now. We want you to give her yours." The conversation quieted down. Suddenly, my mom's friend Karen, who was standing next to me, showed a keen interest in her dessert plate. I chuckled. I actually chuckled. "What? Your house? The one you built? Lucy needs it more than you do." I felt sick to my stomach. When you discover someone is serious about something really crazy, you get a chilly, horrible feeling. "I built that house for 2.5 years. You're serious completely. You're single. Lucy's starting a family. She needs space, a yard, stability." My dad interrupted, saying, "And we helped you." "No," I said in a calm, level voice. "You lent me $8,000, which I paid back with interest. 8 months later, you gave me the land." My grandma had been precise. Grandma left me that land in her will. I have the paperwork notarized, filed with the county recorder's office. Gave my parents the house, left her $35,000 in savings, which Lucy and I split equally. Left the empty land to me alone. That land should have been divided equally. My mother continued, "Then you should have told Grandma that before she died." I'd worked construction since 70-hour weeks for 7 years. Saved $110,000. Learned every trade. Built that house board by board, pipe by pipe, wire by wire. It was mine. My mother's expression hardened. "Ice made of stone. We're asking you to do the right thing. The right thing is for Lucy to buy her own house like I did. She can't afford it. Then she waits, saves, works like I did. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You want me to hand over 2.5 years of my life because Lucy didn't plan ahead." Lucy showed up. Then, one step behind her, Nathaniel. She appeared radiant, content, and unaware. She inquired, "What's going on?" My mother said, "Your brother is being selfish," loud enough to cause the next table to topple over in order to observe. Lucy's expression changed as she said, "We asked him to give you his house. He refused." The grin vanished. "You won't give me your house? Lucy, I'm your brother. You won't help me? For this wedding, I gave you $4,000. A house is far superior to that." Now, the tables around us were observing. Heads turning, conversations dying. My voice carried because the band was in between songs. To build that house, I put in 70-hour work weeks for 2.5 years. Yes. My dad cut me off. Because that's what family does. We sacrifice for each other. His face flushed as he said, "No, that's what doormats do." He stood quickly and asked, "What did you just say?" "You heard me." The back of his chair scraped. The room was now silent. "This is your last chance. Sign the house over to your sister, or you're out of this family." Everyone is observing. Since I was 19, I have been employed in construction. My mother also got up and said, "We don't care. This is about loyalty, about putting family first. I am putting family first. I'm putting myself first because apparently no one else will." Behind him, my father picked up something from the table. A cake stand made of metal, one of those ornamental tiers. Iron that has been wrought. Most likely weighs 7 pounds. Part of the decor for the wedding. He gave it a swing. I anticipated it but was unable to act quickly enough. Metal made contact with my temple. The world burst into pain, white light, and the cracking sound of my own skull. I dropped to the ground. Everything was distant and muffled. I could see people standing, moving, screaming, and a lot of shoes. My head felt strange, detached, as if it were no longer fully connected to my body. I feel hands on my shoulder. My mom is stooping. Blood was dripping. "Get up. You're embarrassing us." It was warm and sticky, trickling down my neck and seeping into my collar. My hand withdrew. Red. A man forced his way through the throng. A black suit. His belt was clipped with a security badge. The badge said Officer M. He was a big guy, perhaps 6'2" and 200 pounds. "Turner, Grand Security at Riverside." I saw that. My father pointed at him and said, "Sir, don't move." His voice was loud, clear, and authoritative. "This is a family-run company. It's assault with a lethal weapon," Turner said, taking his radio away. "Police are needed for an armed assault at the Riverside Grand Ballroom level, according to dispatch. The victim's head wound is bleeding." The female voice on the radio crackled, "Copy. The suspect is still on the scene. Units are in motion." The room whirled as I attempted to sit up. Nathaniel knelt next to me and said, "Ethan, are you okay?" ETA 4 minutes. "I'm fine." I wasn't. My vision was blurry and doubled, and the ringing in my ears was getting worse. Nathaniel got up and turned to face my father. "What the hell is wrong with you people? This doesn't concern you. I just married into this family." Nathaniel took out his phone and opened his email app, saying, "It absolutely concerns me. And there's something everyone here needs to know. Marcus, don't." He pulled away when Lucy grabbed his arm and said, "No." He raised his phone and turned it so that the nearby tables could see it. "This is from my accountant," he said. He scrolled and read aloud. "Yesterday afternoon at 4:47 p.m., Richard Morrison, CPA, 23 years in practice, was sent. Dear Mr. Reed, I have finished the account merger's financial review per your request. I must alert you to a serious inconsistency. Miss Lucy Reed has 4 credit card accounts totaling $40,000 in debt." The room fell silent as Nathaniel reiterated. $40,000. From shopping. Lucy's face turned white. "This was not disclosed during our preliminary discussions." "Is this true?" my father asked, glancing at Lucy. Quietness. "Is this accurate, Lucy? I can explain." Nathaniel looked at Lucy and scrolled through his phone, finding Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, and €40,000. 5,000 handbag used twice. As guests took out their phones to record and take pictures, the woman at table 9 had her iPhone up with the red recording light blinking. "I checked your closet. The suspect is a man in his late 50s wearing a gray suit," Turner said into his radio as the sirens outside grew louder. "The weapon was a wrought iron metal cake stand. The victim has a visible head wound that is bleeding. I used to work as a Riverside County Sheriff's deputy. I saw the whole thing happen." Red and blue lights flashed through the ballroom windows as my father sat down hard, his face pale, his hands shaking. 3 Riverside Police Department officers entered, 2 men and 1 woman. The lead officer had sergeant stripes, and Turner waved them over, saying, "Victim here. Here's a suspect." He gestured to the cake stand. "Unprovoked assault with a weapon in front of 175 witnesses." The sergeant turned to face my father and said, "Sir, stand up." My father stood slowly and said, "This is a misunderstanding. There was blood on the corner, my blood." "Go back. With your hands behind your back. Officer, you don't understand. Turn around." Nathaniel was still holding his phone and reading when my father turned, the cuffs clicking shut, metal on wrist, final, absolute. "So, let me get this straight." His words were heard throughout the ballroom. "You assaulted your son because he wouldn't give his house, the house he built with his own hands over 2.5 years, to someone who spent $40,000 on handbags." One of the officers knelt next to me as my mother looked at Lucy and said, "You lied to us." Officer M. Rodriguez, a young man in his late 20s, says, "Paramedics are on their way. It's a serious head injury. Don't move." Officer S. Foster, a female officer, was taking pictures of the scene, which included my father in handcuffs, the cake stand, and the blood on the floor. "You have the right to remain silent," the sergeant read to my father. "In a court of law, anything you say could and will be used against you." Lucy sobbed and said, "Ethan, please." My baby sister, who had just witnessed our father attack me and whose first reaction was to defend herself, was the object of my intense gaze. "What, please?" My voice sounded thick and raspy. "Tell them it was an accident. Ethan, it wasn't an accident. I refused to give you my house so you could fill it with $40,000 worth of designer trash." So he grabbed a weapon and struck me in front of 175 people. 2 paramedics, a woman in her 40s and a man in his 30s, arrived with medical bags and a stretcher. The woman knelt next to me and said, "My name is Rachel Torres, and I'm an EMT. What's your name?" "Ethan Reed." "What day is it, please?" "Saturday. The wedding of my sister." "Unfortunately," she said with a smile. "Well, that's excellent. Are you aware of your location?" "Riverside Grand Hotel." Wishing I was anywhere else. Using a pen light, she examined my pupils and said, "Concussion possible. We must transport." As they wheeled me toward the exit, my stomach lurched. I passed my father in handcuffs, but he refused to look at me. The sergeant was speaking to Turner, taking a statement, and other guests were being interviewed. "Get that wound assessed properly." They helped me onto the stretcher. The paramedics wheeled me out through the lobby, past the check-in desk, past the horrified concierge, past a family checking in who stared as I rolled past, blood-soaked and strapped to a gurney, while my mother stood motionless by table 9, her face pale, her hands shaking. Lucy was crying into Nathaniel's chest, and he appeared shell-shocked. After loading me, Rachel climbed in next to me and began an IV. "We're heading to Riverside Memorial," she said. The ambulance pulled away from my sister's wedding reception at Riverside Memorial Hospital. The emergency room was in disarray. On Saturday night, there were drunk drivers, bar fights, and overdoses. They have a good neuro. The doors slammed shut. Sirens and lights. They triaged me right away. Head wounds bleed a lot, look worse than they are, but are unpredictable. Brain bleeds, skull fractures, and concussions that kill you 3 days later. Dr. James Park, a Korean-American man in his early 40s, examined me. He appeared worn out. According to his badge, he was an attending physician with 12 years of emergency medicine experience. "Mister, I need you to follow my finger, Reed." I did so, moving left, right, up, and down. "Are you feeling queasy? Feeling a little lightheaded?" "Yes." "All right, let's do a CT scan." They wheeled me to radiology and slid me into the machine, saying, "Rule out fractures and bleeding." The machine hummed as the tech, a young woman with a name tag that said Jennifer, said, "Hold still." I was back in the emergency room bay 20 minutes after words took pictures of my skull. Dr. Park returned with a tablet and said, "Good news, no fracture, no bleeding. You require staples for a 2-inch cut and a moderate concussion." "Staples? 6? Probably." With 6 metallic clicks and 6 sharp tugs, he stapled my head back together after numbing my scalp with lidocaine, which burned. "You need to follow up with your primary care physician in 5 days, he said. "The wound is too deep for glue, too jagged for stitches. Return right away if you have a worsening headache, nausea, disorientation, or unconsciousness." "All right. Are you being driven home by someone?" "I'll call my neighbor." A different police officer showed up. She was a detective in her mid-40s, with her hair pulled back in salt and pepper, a badge and gun on her belt, and the name tag read Detective Maria Sullivan, Riverside PD. "Mister, I'm Detective Sullivan, Reed. I need to hear what you have to say." Dr. Park nodded, short as possible. Sullivan took out a recorder and said, "He needs to rest. Do you want this to be recorded?" "Yes." "Saturday, September 23, 11:47 p.m., she said, pressing record. Ethan Reed was interviewed about case number 202488847. "Could you tell me what transpired tonight, Mr. Reed?" I told her everything, including the assault, the demand for my house, the conversation with my parents, and my refusal. "Did your father threaten you before striking you?" she asked, taking notes. "I had one last chance," he said. "He grabbed the cake stand and struck me after saying, 'Sign over the house.'"